Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session on the Welsh music industry at IMX, International Music Expo. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, International Music Expo is a music industry conference, business expo, and music showcase event running digitally throughout the month of October. After its first edition in 2020, this year IMX hopes to create a digital environment for artists and industry professionals, non-governmental, governmental organizations, tech and game companies to connect, learn, and grow together as part of the global industry community. My name is Alessandro, and I'm going to be your host for today. I work for a local Chinese music company called Kanjian Music, and I also am part of the programming team for IMX. This session today addresses how you can connect and understand the Welsh music market. And I'm joined here today by a few wonderful panelists from the Welsh music industry. Let's introduce the panel first. For those who don't know you, can you guys please tell us more about what you do and your involvement in the Welsh music industry? I'd say we can start with you, Andy, because I see you. You're the first on my screen.
Thank you, Ali. Okay, yeah, so hi everyone, Andy Jones here. I'm one of the co-founders and the music programmer for an annual showcase event that happens in a town called Wrexham in North Wales called Focus Wales. We're a showcase festival that's been running for 10 years now. Involves up to 300 artists, which around 90 are from overseas. And the whole point really is to showcase new talent to music industry representatives that travel to the event. We have a conference that runs alongside the live program across the 3 days. It attracts around 500 delegates. Attendees across the festival now. At our last edition, we had circa 15,000 people in attendance at the event. So it's been growing year on year. And yeah, our 10th edition will take place 7th to the 9th of October, 2021. So exciting times.
Great. Thanks, Andy. Kizzy, would you like to go next?
Hi everyone, so my name is Kizzy Crawford. I am a bilingual artist. I sing and write and perform in Welsh and English. And I use loop pedals, play guitar, violin, and dabble on a few other instruments. And I've been performing live for about 10 years now and producing as well.
Brilliant, thank you very much. We got Sam Dabb as well. Hi, Sam.
Hi everyone. Hi, I'm Sam. I've been running La Pub in Newport, 100 capacity venue for 24 years. And then during the pandemic, I took on a role with Music Venue Trust, working as the Welsh Venues Coordinator. A lot of the guidance in the UK is split into the nations, and the Welsh guidance is very different. So my main role has been helping the Welsh venues understand what is different from the English guidance, and also helping them access funding.
Great. And last but certainly not least, Simon.
Hi everyone, my name's Simon Parton. I'm like your typical music freelancer wearing lots of hats within the industry in Wales. My most recent and main hat at the moment though is that recently started a new music talent agency in Wales, working with 5 artists. It's called BLOCS, and our artists are Adwife, Bandicoot, Benji Wild, Edith and Kid Smoke.
Great. Thank you very much to all of you for the introduction here. And I guess we can start off with supposedly one of the major topics that for the last almost 2 years now, unfortunately, and which is COVID and the pandemic, that obviously has affected us in a variety of different ways. I think both from a personal perspective, but also from in the industry and professional way of seeing things. I don't know, I've heard a lot of different stories, you know, a lot of people that just decided to sit back and just relax, look into their lives more, focus more on family, on their friends, and other people who actually have dived right into the new technologies that have been coming up. And I guess my question is, I would like to hear from each one of you, how has your specific sector within the industry been affected? But also at the same time, what were the newest technologies that maybe you guys have been utilizing recently, or the new institutional help, you know, anything that has really aided your your personal business within this weird times, let's say. So maybe we can start off with Kizzy, hearing it from a more of an artist perspective.
Yeah, so over the past, well, since COVID, I haven't done many gigs at all. I've done 1 or 2 actual gigs, but they've been online, and the rest of the work has been via Zoom and little projects that I've been doing online and a few TV appearances. But yeah, mainly it's been quite quiet compared to usual before COVID, which has taken some adjusting to. But it's also meant that I've had lots of time to work on myself as an artist, to work on my music, to work on more songs and put more time into the producing element of it, and learning new things as well. And yeah, like I said, working with more people online. So yeah, there's been some disadvantages and advantages as well.
For sure. How about you, Simon? Because you've probably been seeing it from the other side, working with the artists, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been challenging at first, but I think for me, really refreshing in the way that, because everything's been online, I think my network of artists and industry professionals has grown so much more within the last 18 months than it has in the 3 years that I've been working in the industry. So it's been really lovely to meet new people and work with new artists. One of our artists, Kid Smoke, put their album out in the summer of the first year of the pandemic and broke even. Another, we've got a few other album campaigns that are happening now. And yeah, I think that the flexibility of being able to do things from the comfort of your own home over a computer has been strange, but definitely a positive, and has it's made new connections and just encouraged, I think, a lot of artists and the people that I'm working with to really try new things and work harder at getting that end result. So yeah, personally, it's been hard and weird, but majority of people that I've worked with have spun it into something really positive.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we've heard the artist perspective, the management perspective. It would be great to hear from you, Sam, how it was from a live venue perspective as well, because I know that was one of the sectors that obviously has been affected the most from this.
Yeah, I think we were shut down first, and we will be the last to come back, and that's the way it's going to be. I mean, same as everybody, really. The negatives are we haven't been able to have live music, but the positives are that we've been able to learn about streaming equipment, and we've been doing a lot of the venues across Wales have done a lot of online gigs. A lot of people have picked up new skills that we wouldn't have bothered looking into yet. And I think we're about to move into a really interesting phase where things go back to normal, and we can look at maybe some kind of hybrid gigs for people that can't attend and things like that. And that's a really interesting phase that's coming up. And another positive that I think venues have been able to take is, like, speaking personally, we replaced the floors in the venue and we built a recording studio in the basement, which is 2 things we've been trying to do for the last 4 years. But when you're open 7 days a week, there's no time to rip the floor up or bring in a team of builders. So I think the one thing this crisis is going to show is the people that looked for the positives and got stuff done, they'll be the ones that come out of it stronger. And I think there's going to be, although it's a shame that the industry will be streamlined, I think it will be a stronger industry for it.
Thank you very much for that. That's very, very positive, and it's always good and refreshing to hear. What about you, Andy? How's it been working for you from, I guess, both on local and an export perspective?
Yeah, of course, because I guess that's the other area I didn't really cover in my introduction, is that alongside the domestic festival that we also deliver so much international work, showcasing artists from Wales at key industry events globally. And yeah, I mean, broadly speaking, it was obviously a really good opportunity, I think, in the last year to sort of take stock and reflect as an industry in Wales, and to address pre-existing issues that were there, look at inequalities that were there and how we can improve things for artists and industry in Wales. Look at, in some cases there were and are broken pathways, and there was work and is ongoing work that's required to ensure that it's a really inclusive industry. So, you know, we've been doing lots of different work on that score. On a very practical level, you know, obviously it's forced us to postpone the festival twice. So, you know, our festival, 10th edition, should have happened last May. Obviously, when the pandemic hit and we had our first lockdown in March, a moment of crisis, you know, we had to postpone at that point 260 plus artists to, as we thought it would be, autumn 2020. We got to June and realized that that was futile, and you know, we really had to look at 2021. So, you know, it's been a stressful time having to do that, but then alongside that, we've learned to pivot and, you know, look at new ways of doing it. So we've delivered a digital conference last autumn called Out of Focus, which gave us an opportunity really to do a lot of artist-led stuff, and, you know, connect artists and industry in new ways that we wouldn't usually do. And, you know, that sort of remote networking, you know, obviously is something that's blossomed a lot globally over the last year, where people have realized, oh, great, actually, I can put together a fantastic conference, just as we're doing here today, with people from all around the world. So we've been able to sort of pick and mix our shared network as a Focus Wales team with industry from right around the world, and pair them with compatible artists in Wales. And it's been a really interesting process. The feedback's been great. We've seen our artists from Wales pick up new deals and, you know, spark new relationships that hopefully they'll take forward in their careers. So that's been really positive. And I think there are going to be elements of that digital way of working that will stick with our export work going forward. Certainly in terms of preparing artists, because, you know, we all want a greener planet, and at the same time, we also want to help our artists have sustainable careers. That often involves taking artists to new international markets, but we want to be responsible about when people go on aeroplanes and, you know, making the most of those trips, those opportunities. So being able to prepare artists before they go to North America or before they go to Asia, or wherever, you know, wherever it may be on the planet, in a bit more of a strategic way through online working, I think has been a bit of a revolution over the past year. And I think it's definitely going to be an element that sticks with us. So I think actually a lot of positives over the last year.
Definitely. And, you know, everything has been moving, not everything, but most of the ways that artists have to make money have been moving more towards an online sort of a perspective. And speaking about sustainability, I was wondering if you guys maybe could share some of the, let's call them new maybe, or sort of income streams that an artist would have never thought about before. And, you know, we have the likes of Patreon, people getting into podcasting, NFTs and the likes. And I don't know, what have been the main sources of income for your artist recently? And I guess this question is more, we can start with Simon maybe as an artist manager and then move to Kizzy.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, obviously pre-pandemic, if I take Bandicoot, who are one of our bands, for example, you know, pre-pandemic, their income streams would be solely live music, you know, live performance and getting paid for that. And I remember when I started working with them properly, like officially, you know, they were asking me like, oh, well, how are we gonna, because they were in the middle of recording their album, and they were saying, well, how can we fund it if we're not getting gigs? So we sat down and you know, we were you know, chatting through some ideas, and you know, they were really creative with what they wanted to do. So like, they put out a load of new merch. They were making magazines for fans and selling them really cheap. So, you know, like £1, so people were just picking them up, and then, you know, 50 people pick them up, and that paid for, you know, X amount. We were looking at sync deals. So they've recently had one of their tunes put on an advert. So that's, you know, bringing some money in. And then, yeah, just kind of by building a nice little network in Wales of people that they know and trust, you know, we've been able to get lots of radio play and lots of support from BBC. So that's brought in PRS money. So yeah, it's kind of, I think the people that have really embraced the new way of working, it's going to make a career as a musician in the long term a lot more sustainable, because they're now going into, hopefully soon, you know, paid opportunities playing live alongside all of these other things that they've put in place. So they'll always be, you know, they're messaging me every single week about a new t-shirt idea that they want, or a new, you know, badge or bag, or, you know, crazy ideas. And then they're just going to have loads of, you know, things that they can do to bring more money in. But yeah, particularly the sync deals. So, you know, getting it on TV and, you know, all of that, that's been really positive for them, and they've really embraced that. So again, a thing that they didn't think about pre-studio was like, oh yeah, we should get instrumentals of all of our tracks, because that's something that someone might want to use. And that's something, again, pre-COVID, they just had the idea of, oh, we write an album and we put it out. So I think it's really given artists, especially the artists that we're working with, that extra kind of opportunity to look at what they can do with what they're creating, and what they can do to add around what they're creating to make it, you know, a proper experience for a consumer.
Right. Kizzy, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, so for me, before the pandemic, it was gigs that was my main source of income, and obviously being able to sell CDs at gigs as well. Yeah, it's been, like I said before, just hard to adjust to the new sort of way of living and having my career sort of yeah, and I've had to do more online, which has been great, and as I said before, more time to work on my actual producing and writing and so on. But yeah, I do miss the actual being gigging out live and seeing people and having an audience. Like it's made me realize how important that is, and how great it will be when we can go back to it. And yeah, just feeding off that live energy as a performer is a really important element, I think. And I've noticed when I've been going back to perform recently, the nerves have started kicking back in. And just because before I was gigging so regularly, like at least once every week, and so I'd got so used to it, and yeah, it's going to take some getting used to getting back to it, but I'm really glad that things are starting to ease, and that there's definitely hope that the live scene will return.
Definitely, and we're all very much looking forward to that time when we can all see our faces in real life. But Sam, I actually wanted to hear from you on this part as well, in terms of the sort of sources of income that you've been able to I guess generate for Le Pub. And I guess it's also a good opportunity to maybe speak about the Music Venue Trust, which you are part of.
Yeah, I think unfortunately with venues, the ways to generate income were very, very small. There's crowdfunders, there's things like that, but there was no way that venues were going to raise enough money to go through the entire crisis. So the first thing Music Venue Trust did was put together the Save Our Venues campaign. And that was just basically our pledge to save every single venue, and you know, whatever that takes. I mean, we've done it a multitude of ways. We did a number of fundraising gigs. We've received a lot of money in donations, some from some very high profile artists, which was amazing. And the first thing Music Venue Trust did, as soon as they started to get enough money into the bank, was to put together a team of regional coordinators. So every area in Britain has its own coordinator that is, you know, we have knowledge of the local councils, we have knowledge of the guidance in that area, you know, and that's been really, really useful, because a lot of councils have put together some grants that are only available in their areas and things like that, which all music venues have been able to access. We also have a funding team, which is just a bunch of incredible people that assist music venues writing their funding bids, because I mean, it's not a very well kept secret that funding is impossible to apply for unless you're in that little world of funding. But Music Venue Trust broke that barrier down by working with a team of people that taught people how to write bids and how to get bids. And I think in Wales alone, through the Cultural Recovery Fund, we raised 4 million for venues, which means that we're not going to lose a single grassroots music venue in Wales. Touch wood, I'm touching my table legs right now. But as it stands, we're not going to lose a venue in Wales, and that is purely because of the work Music Venue Trust do. And I know I work for them, so I'm biased, but I was a massive supporter and a long-term member pre getting a job with them. You know, the work they do is absolutely unbelievable. And for me, on a Wales basis, I think the fact that they instantly, right at the beginning of the crisis, recognised the need for a coordinator for Wales and a coordinator for Scotland. And those were the two coordinators that were put in place first, because they respected the differences between the nations. And that's sometimes really hard to get across. So yeah, that's my little love story to Music Venue Trust.
No, awesome. Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. And Andy, how about you? Any particular initiative you would want to share about helping artists from or institution, I guess, from a more economic perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's been a huge positive over the last year that it's got a lot of people around the digital table, so to speak, sharing knowledge and ideas about how we can all get through it together in a way where pre-pandemic, perhaps certain groups of people wouldn't have got together. And, you know, not through design, but just through, you know, the busyness of life and everybody sort of in autopilot, cracking on with their own ways of working and their own plans. I think it has created these opportunities for all the festivals to get around the table, all the venues. Sam and I sit on. So I think, you know, and I think a lot of that way of working and communicating will go forward with us, because, you know, we're not a huge nation, but, you know, Wales is a nation of circa 3.3 million, something like that, I believe it is now. And, you know, it's a fair geographical spread. So, you know, there are lots of people sort of working in isolation in areas where they don't necessarily have a lot of industry around them, but, you know, their view and their contribution to the ecosystem of Wales is just as valid. And suddenly they have an equal voice at the table. So it doesn't matter if they're living in the sticks or, you know, on the west coast of Wales, or wherever it may be. You know, we're all around that table, everybody's sharing their knowledge and their thoughts and ideas. And I think that's been hugely positive. And just to echo what Sam was saying about the work they've been doing with Music Venue Trust, I mean, that's just a cracking example, really. Whereas, you know, without that type of coordination and that type of, you know, bringing people together and you know, sharing that really important information that has kept businesses alive, you know, people would just be struggling in a crisis on their own. And I think, you know, we will go forward stronger for, you know, for reasons such as that, and lots of other groups. I mean, I know there's a labels group doing a similar sort of like regular get-togethers to discuss, you know, their work. And, you know, I'm sure they'll be talking about the distribution companies and talking about new ways of running campaigns and, you know, what was successful and what wasn't. And, you know, there's similarly a rehearsal spaces and recording studios group, and that's the first time that those guys have got around the table to speak about their part of the industry. I think all of that has been really interesting, you know, and an opportunity to capture views and challenges and positives in ways that hasn't been done before. And I think it's the start of that way of working. I think, you know, it's definitely something we take forward, but I think there are other areas of the industry that maybe aren't being captured and being brought together on a regular basis. And that's something I'm keen to explore over the next year. You know, it's like, how can, I mean, maybe it's Fantasy Island stuff, but maybe, you know, if there's a way of getting filtering through everybody's voices into the mix. I mean, certainly artists, I think it'd be fantastic if there was a way to feed in the views and experiences of artists into the sort of decisions that then underpin policies at government or, you know, even at Arts Council level. I think maybe they're oddly probably the missing voices right now, but there's a lot of people who recognize this and are quite keen to sort of bring that into play. I mean, for all the reasons, it's fantastic to have Kizzy here, you know, and have an artist with Kizzy's experience talking about her take on things. I think we need more of that generally across our conferences, across, you know, the important meetings that happen. But yeah, hopefully I'm not rambling and that's coherence, but I mean, generally, I think that coming together digitally has been really positive.
Definitely. And I would love to talk more about this, but I know we're running short of time somehow, and I wanted to hear more about the perspective in terms of the perspective from an artist view, and also from you guys helping the artist, about being local, working on the local side of things, and exporting. So do you think there's more appetite for Welsh artists to just build at home, or they see themselves more in other markets and they're really trying to heavily push to expand in different markets? And how do you, as music industry professionals, help them make that choice? I guess we could start with the artist's perspective again, Kizzy.
Yeah, so I have lived in Merthyr for the past around 10 years, coming up for 10 years now, and it's been around 10 years since I've been doing live performances and writing and producing my own music. And the way that that I got my that I was able to start having my music as a career was by a local competition, singer-songwriter competition, and also Radio Cymru, extremely supportive, Radio Wales as well. And I also was a part of the scheme called Horizons or Godwellion, which is a scheme run by Beth and Elvin from Radio Wales to help artists in Wales to gain more experience as artists and gig in places that they wouldn't normally gig and work with other artists. And that was massively helpful and sort of like a kickstart to my career. And I'll never forget the amount of support and experience I gained from being on Horizons, and just, yeah, the support, I've just got to say it again, from Radio Cymru and Radio Wales has just been amazing over the years. You know, they're really supportive of new upcoming artists. There's also some amazing publications such as Buzz, Golwg, Aselar, Wales Online, and community stations all across Wales that are just super supportive. And you know, I wouldn't have had as many opportunities as I've had or made it as far as I have if it wasn't for those things in Wales. I think we're very lucky here in Wales to have that, you know, that local aspect of, you know, just support. And yeah, it's helped a lot of artists like me, lots of my friends, to just build themselves and to reach a wider audience. So yeah, I'm forever grateful to the amazing support that there is in Wales for artists.
Brilliant. Simon, what's your take on this?
So I studied music in university in Cardiff and graduated, God, it must have been 10, maybe 7, 8 years ago. And my opinion and the kind of thing that was instilled in us being musicians from Wales at a university level was, if you want a career in the music industry, you need to move to London. So I graduated and I was like, right, well, if I want to work in music, I've got to move to London. I didn't do that, and thank God I didn't, because I wouldn't be working in music. So I think that there's still an element of that with younger artists, but I think that there's so many great examples like Kizzy who have proved that you can be a successful musician and stay in Wales. Like, I've grown up in Swansea, I'm still here, and I'm working in the music industry. Like, that's, if somebody told me that when I was 18, I'd be like, that's impossible. That's like, that couldn't happen. And I think that like Bandicoot, again, going back to one of the bands that I'm managing, they, in their young, naive, early 20s state, was like, well, yeah, we need to go to London to get signed to a record label. And I remember talking to them before I, again, started working with them. And I was like, well, why don't you just get a solid team of people that you trust and know are hardworking at home, that you know are really good at what they do? They're like, oh, yeah, will that work? And I was like, well, you know, try it. And, you know, they did, and it's really worked. So it now means that every single kind of moving part within Bandicoot and how the band works at the moment is based in Wales. So we've got the management obviously based in Wales. We've got our distribution piece based in Wales. Our PR is a company called Beast, which is based in Wales. Record label Libertino, It's another Welsh label. So, you know, they've built this fantastically strong network that is 100% Welsh. All of their t-shirts are printed in Wales. All of their artwork is by Welsh artists. So they've really embraced that advice that I've given them, which is there are so many people doing things in Wales that have this, and almost collectively have this, oh, nothing really happens in Wales at that kind of younger level, and have really kind of spun it to create these amazing pockets of creative people in, you know, all over. That's the other thing which is amazing about the Bandicoot thing, is that like they're collaborating with people in North Wales, West Wales, East Wales, and they're you know, they're in Cardiff at the moment. They've got a little, you know, pocket of you know, friends and people that are doing music there. But it's been really refreshing to kind of see it work from a very early stage in their career, and it really blossoming in a really nice way. Like for me, it's been great because I was in a full-time job working here, not really working in the music industry, and then I just took a punt 3 years ago and was like, all right, I'm just going to really go for it and see what happens. And it's been incredible, like the trajectory of like my career as well, working in music in Wales. It's like I wouldn't ever want to work anywhere else. Like the thought of working in the music industry in London now is like hell to me. I would hate to be doing that. It's like I live by the beach. I'm like so well connected to all these different areas in Wales, and yeah, it's a real positive, wonderful place to be working in music.
Definitely. I mean, I used to live in London too. I did my master's there, and I also had this. Well, for me, it was more of an adventure. I really wanted to move to China and trying to experience something different in my life. But I do understand what you're saying about the English music industry. For me, it seemed like a lot of competition as well. And sometimes, I guess, being local and having the local, you can call them friends, not just partners, people within the industry, you know, but also people that eventually become friends, can be really, really helpful. On this note, I would also like to hear maybe from both Sam and Andy, because you guys have seen hundreds of bands coming through. But well, the pub for Sam, and then of course Focus Wales for Andy. What do you feel like is the general perspective about staying local or just going all in and export the product outside? Maybe we can go to Sam.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one for me to answer, because as grassroots music venues, our job is to be embedded in the community and to give bands that stage to learn from, so that they can then be launched internationally. So I think it's quite difficult for me to talk about exporting and things like that, and you know, how you do things like that, because we can't export. We are firmly based bricks and mortar where we are, and our job in terms of, you know, exporting artists is to give them a real base in their, you know, in their career, where they can look back and they can say, well, that was amazing that we had that venue in our hometown where we could learn to play to crowds. And you know, you start off, and I mean, most bands start off playing to their school friends and their mum and dad, and then you might get somebody else who wanders in, who tells somebody else who wanders in, and before you know it, you've got 100 people, and the school friends and mum and dad can't get in because they didn't get tickets because they took it for granted, you know. And that's our job, is to build that base, which then enables bands to move on and move forward because they've learnt their trade with us.
Fair enough. Sorry, I may have phrased the question in the wrong way, but you gave us a really good perspective on what is it that you do at the local level to try and push these bands, you know, to just move forward. Then maybe Andy, you can share some more on this.
Yeah, I mean, I echo really what Simon was saying in terms of that there has been that sort of default view, I think, of lots of young Welsh artists just thinking, well, what we need to do is, you know, we want security in a music career, and that just means getting money as a priority to, you know, to pay bills, to give the secure framework that means that you can record and tour and all of those things. Whereas actually what gives you that secure framework is working with the right people, and, you know, trying to sort of advise artists to be strategic and think about the people first, and place the higher priority thing being on that. So it's not about chasing money from strangers in London or wherever it may be on the planet. just think about building a team of people that you trust, that you believe in, that you might want to work alongside for maybe 10 plus years in a career, you know, whether it's a manager or a label or an agent. And, you know, not take for granted what's at home. And, you know, it might be that your manager, your agent, your label are going to be based in England or Scotland or Germany or wherever. That's all perfectly fine. But actually, we have a whole infrastructure here. I just think as an industry, as a nation, we've for a long time suffered with confidence, and people have just assumed, well, we need to go to the big smoke, wherever that might be, outside of Wales to establish a career. But more and more, I'm seeing stories such as Kizzy's and Bandicoots and lots of other artists who've established really strong teams that give them that creative control to be the masters of their own destiny in many respects, you know, so they're part of the conversation as to what their strategy is and how it works with their lives, so that, you know, the project doesn't quickly become derailed, which can so often be the case, sadly, for artists. You know, when they relinquish that element of control from their career. So we're seeing lots of interesting music companies emerge across Wales, management companies, labels, agencies, beginning to thrive now, because I think globally people are really interested in Wales. And, you know, we're seeing it through the export work we do. You know, we do pop-up showcases at South by Southwest and at festivals across Asia and Canada, as well as the US and across Europe. And, you know, people are forever really intrigued. We're a bilingual nation, but also an access point to the wider UK market. That's really interesting for people. We have a brilliant infrastructure from all these amazing grassroots venues right across the country, up to, you know, theatres and arenas and stadiums. So the potential is really huge in Wales for people to engage with us. And our artists are starting to, you know, also grow with the confidence in that as well, because they're seeing that response when they're showcasing with us at these events and going, oh, actually, yeah, Wales is fantastic and we have a lot of opportunities to develop. But in terms of identifying music markets and what is appropriate for particular artists to export to, I mean, it's totally horses for courses, as they say, you know. We've seen a lot of brilliant, you know, alt rock bands from South Wales valleys completely bypass the UK to some degree in many respects and just go straight to the US because, you know, they just get traction there quickly. We've got a band from Wrexham called Neck Deep, who are, you know, the most successful pop-punk band the UK's ever produced. And they spend most of their time in North America because, you know, things just happen a bit more naturally and, you know, quicker for them over in the States. Not that we don't celebrate them here, you know, but sometimes it just works out that way. And they're, you know, they're extremely proud of being from Wales and being from Wrexham and all that goes with that. But like, you know, sometimes you just find a natural home for your project, and it might be with a label based in mainland Europe somewhere. And as an artist, you just have to make those judgments, I guess. But I think it all boils down to, you know, we're advising artists to just, as I say, make the priority the people that you work with. And it doesn't matter where they're based in the world now, because we can all function in this capacity digitally. So it's making communication and business a lot easier, I think, in many respects. So hopefully that's not too much of a ramble, but you know, I'm quite keen to open up the world to our artists and industry in Wales. You know, that's the whole spirit behind Focus Wales, is to bring global music industry to Wales, to see what we've got here on and off the stage. And, you know, and then vice versa when we're taking Welsh artists overseas, whether it's, you know, events in China or Korea or whatever. So, you know, that's the whole point of it really, is to just let people know that we're here and to come and visit us in Wales, engage with us, come to Focus Wales in October. And yeah, and, you know, hopefully we can continue to thrive. It's been a revolution over the last 10 years. You know, if you look at our scene in 2010 and compare it to where we're at now, it's grown significantly. I'm
definitely taking you on this one about coming to Focus Wales. As soon as borders are open, I'll be sure to come and say hi. Thank you very much to everyone for today's. And I think we have time for one last question, which I kept for the end on purpose. I am, what kind of advices would you give to both artists and in general music industry, music businesses within Wales, and artists and music industry businesses that want to come to Wales? What would you say it takes to be successful in Wales? And maybe we can touch also upon the fact that Wales is a bilingual country, and there's Welsh and English being spoken. How does that affect, and how is that important also for an artist being there? Is it a must, or is it something that you feel artists should be trying to push within their career, or something that doesn't necessarily mean being successful in Wales? So maybe Simon, you want to say something?
Yeah, for sure. So what does it mean to be successful in Wales? I would say staying in Wales is a success. And yeah, like advice for people wanting to come here, just like 99% of people are wonderful and lovely and friendly and are open to listening and experiencing new things. To touch on the bilingual element of things, again, going back to Bandicoot, they're a bilingual band, but have only been bilingual in their music writing for the last year or two, maybe. They never wanted to write in Welsh. They then moved away to England to study in university, and really realized the importance of how that structures their identity. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not a must for a Welsh artist. There's plenty of artists that don't sing in Welsh. But I'd say that it's definitely, I would say personally, like within the last few years, has been something that's been embraced with open arms by everyone, which has been wonderful to see.
Thank you. Andy?
I completely agree. Yeah, I think it's a beautiful part of our culture and our identity in Wales. It's not a must, but it does open different doors and other opportunities. I would say for internationals, like looking at Wales as an opportunity, I think the interesting aspect of being a bilingual nation just generally means that we're open to other languages. Often artists and export officers, when they speak to me about bringing artists to Focus Wales, say, is it really important that they're singing it in English? And I'm always like, no, I think our audiences and our industry here are quite interested to hear artists singing in all manner of languages. It's and there's lots of businesses that we attract to Focus Wales, and delegates that are interested in artists singing in all manner of languages. So I think that's a really beautiful part of who we are in Wales. It's something we celebrate. It's not like a forced thing. It's something we enjoy and celebrate. I do need to brush up on my Welsh because it's been a long time since I left school, so I don't use it as frequently in my life as I'd like to. But it's something I'm very proud of. And we have Welsh media, Welsh TV, Welsh radio. So for those singing in Welsh, that naturally does open up some opportunities. But yeah, I just think it's a really lovely plus. And if anything, I think people from overseas should just see it as they're open to other languages. So if you're singing in Italian or Mandarin or whatever it may be, it's like, we'd consider that a cool thing.
Thanks for that. And Sam?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of being successful in Wales is being true to yourself, because there's something about being in Wales and around Welsh people that you don't get away with being fake. You have to love what you're doing and do it because you love it. And in terms of being a bilingual nation, this is where Andy does a shocked face. I'm actually English. I was moved here when I was 13 and I never spoke Welsh. And during the pandemic, I started to learn Welsh as a hobby because it's a beautiful part of our nation and what we do. But it's not essential to my career. It's never held me back not speaking Welsh. So it's just a beautiful added bonus to our country, is that you have the option to explore this language that belongs to the country that you live in, that you've chosen to call home. And I think yeah, it's a very complicated language, but it's so beautiful to learn. There's so many interesting flexes around the way words change and have different meanings. And, you know, if anyone has an interest in language, please do look at Welsh. It's phenomenal and it's so beautiful.
Thanks for that. And last but certainly not least, to finish up with Kizzy, a Welsh artist that sings in Welsh too. So.
For me, the Welsh language has massive, well, it's a massive part of my life. I actually moved to Wales when I was 3 years old, but I identify as Welsh because I went through Welsh medium school, and I grew up singing, being part of this thing called the Eisteddfod, which is an annual competition that is held all across Wales where people take part in singing, acting, all sorts, dancing. And I always used to want to get up and sing in the choir, and it just really, it helped me feel like I could fit in, and it helped me feel more at home, and that's one of the reasons why I started writing my own music, and why I decided to be a bilingual artist, because it is part of my identity, and yeah, like I said, it's helped me to fit in. Yeah, so and it's brought about a lot of opportunities as well, being able to speak Welsh, obviously there's lots of opportunities on S4C and Radio Cymru, and yeah, as I've heard a lot growing up, if you can speak, if you're bilingual, that opens a lot of doors for you. So yeah, being able to speak both Welsh and English has always been something that I count as a blessing, and it's also one of the reasons why I've chosen to recently take up learning Portuguese. I just find the language incredibly beautiful, Welsh, and I just feel the same way towards Portuguese. I just think there's a lot of, it's very poetic and beautiful, as Sam was saying. It's just yeah, Welsh is an incredibly beautiful language that yeah, I just want to see it being recognised more across the world. Like I've just known quite a lot growing up that lots of people aren't always aware that Wales has its own language, and I think that with the music industry growing in Wales, it's a great way of kind of showing the world that we have an amazing language here, that anyone is welcome to come and learn, and also Wales as a country is extremely welcoming to other languages as well.
Thank you very much. Then we will be expecting a song in Chinese at some point, right?
I would love to.
Okay. Well, that's all for us. Thank you very much to all of you, Simon, Andy, Kizzy, and Sam, for joining me here today. And we wish you all, looking at this panel, a good continuation for IMX, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the programming. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you all.